He didn't look relaxed, but he did look tanned. I fucking hoped he hadn't come back off his holiday to wherever it was just to deal with this. The door opened again, and Genevieve Casson, our head of player support, waltzed in, looking like she'd just stepped out of a modelling shoot. "So sorry I'm late. I had to deal with a call from the press." She sent a look my way, something that was obviously my fault. "Not an issue." Clearly Guy didn't have the same standards about tardiness with her. I glanced at Reese again, who just shook his head, opened his mouth a few times and then closed it, as if he didn't have the words to express how utterly I'd disappointed him. If we'd been elsewhere, I'd have laughed. Reese was only a couple of years older than me. We'd played on the same football team back when we were kids in Newcastle, only he'd ended up shattering his knee coming off a skateboard, so he'd found another way to be involved in the game. Guy's gaze was back on me, his eyes piercing. "Hon, the last 2 days have been something of a shit show. Since Saturday morning, I've had phone calls and emails asking me for comments about the story in the press, and the photos of you in the pool with the young lady have added an additional layer of difficulty. We have to look at how this situation is managed." He wasn't wrong, apart from the young lady part. There'd been nothing ladylike about the girl in the pool, whose name I'd only found out when I'd seen the picture on social media, but she had been all woman. I didn't smile at the memory. I wished it hadn't happened. I'd no idea Jade was going to go to the press, which was the truth. We'd split at the end of the season when I'd gotten tired of her being so fame-hungry. There were more photos of me on her Instagram than there were on mine, and the pressure from her to spend all of my free time doing stuff that involved being seen. "I did warn you." Reese always liked to say "I told you so," usually with a big shit-eating grin on his ugly face, which he was managing to hide right now under the pretense of being professional. There was no point responding. Jade had made up a story to sell, painting herself in the light she wanted to be seen in, casting me as the villain. I'd read it at stupid o'clock this morning when I'd been woken by Reese's assistant telling me I had to get to the stadium ground for this meeting. When I'd asked why, she told me to Google myself. I'd ignored the media while we were on holiday. I hired someone to manage my social media accounts, adding the odd post when it was something more personal, and even though my season had been 100%er, after 10 years as a professional footballer, I'd learned not to read pundits' opinions in the press, which meant this morning had been a bit of a surprise. "Rowan's solicitor is involved already. We're researching if we can sue Ms. Young. The timing of the other photos are unfortunate." Reese reached under the table and pinched what he could of the skin on my thigh hard, a sign to shut the fuck up. I had no idea my solicitor was involved, clearly something else Reese was taking care of. Reese continued without missing a beat. "But this is all solvable, and we can use it to our advantage." He was trying to gloss over it. Guy stared at me in a way that made me feel he was analysing my soul. "You should pursue it with Ms. Young and the paper. You do need to defend your image on this one, Rowan. Goals and assists aren't going to be enough to clear up the image you now have." His accent sounded even more French than usual. "Genevieve, where are you up to with the media?" Pretty green eyes looked up from the tablet in front of her. "The party line is that Rowan was single. Jade doing a tell-all has actually helped in that case, and entitled to enjoy himself, and that he's also entitled to his privacy." Her eyes narrowed. "Having sex with a woman on a sun lounger in full view probably wasn't your wisest move, though." I rubbed on my forehead. It was a private party. I didn't know her friend was going to take photos and post them. "That's the problem, Rowan. You can never know when someone's going to do that. You are a record signing. You're on our record wages. We've taught you to always think the worst of people who you don't know well or can't be vouched for until you know them better. You're not stupid, but the holiday photos are damaging to your image, as is Jade's interview. We have damage control to do." Guy's jaw stiffened, and his eyes had that dark gleam to them that usually made me want to stay well away. I shrugged. "I understand what you said. I have shit taste in women and I didn't make a good choice at the party. No point in trying to bullshit my way through that." Genevieve shook her head. "How can you have sex in front of other people? Never mind, you're a footballer. Therefore, you have a whole different set of rules." She was right. Money, fame and adoration were a toxic combination. When you heard fans chanting your name in the stadium, saw your name on banners and shirts, encountered women making themselves available for you when you wanted, you couldn't be untouched by it. For a kid who grew up playing footy on the